Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Zigwheels ZigTalk. This time around we're talking about a topic that we asked you about in the last video, and that was, well, you guys had a lot of positive responses to this. If you would be interested in knowing how is it that Zigwheels goes about conducting road test reviews.
Right. Now, a road test obviously begins with getting the car in the first place, and how we get these vehicles, that's a separate story altogether. There's a separate video altogether because YouTube link is in that I button up top there. And in the description. So make sure you check that out. But of course, once we decide we need to road test a car, we have to coordinate with the manufacturer that then points us to the nearest media car that either gets picked up by us, where we have to furnish our information like driver's license, a photo ID, all of that, or it gets dropped to our office. And once that comes over to our office, whether it's a car or a bike, the first thing we do is we check it for any dings, damages, or anything, and then comes the fun bit.
Exactly. So it begins with something we call performance testing, and the name is kind of self-explanatory. So we've got a team of road testers. These are people who are consistently used for, there's a separate bike team, there's a separate team for cars. We ensure that they're the same people, the same kind of skill set, the same even weight of the testers.
Same driving and riding style as well.
Exactly. So we try to keep it as consistent as possible. So what these guys do is they take the vehicles out. We make sure that we've got elements like the tire pressure and all bang on as per the manufacturer recommendations. And then we use a GPS-based data logger, which is this AV box. So this is what we use to conduct our 0 to 100 tests, our 100 to 0 braking tests, in-gear acceleration, and even getting elements like the true speeds. Because what you see on the speedometer, there's often a chance of error.
Because there are a lot of videos on YouTube that just have a camera pointing towards the speedo that claims to record 0 to 100 times. That isn't all that accurate, well, because the speedo isn't accurate in the first place. Now, once we're done with the performance testing, it is time to spend some time with the car. This is where we learn about the car a lot, because we test it for mileage, and we've got a fixed highway route and a fixed city route. So the highway is a minimum of 100 kilometers. The highway route has a mix of expressways, there's ghats involved, there's a toll as well. So we try and simulate as real a driving condition as possible. Even inside the city, we don't venture out in like heavy peak traffic, like Bombay for example, but smooth flowy traffic, something that you would encounter on a daily basis in any metro city.
And it has to be representative of most cities in India as far as possible. So we look for something like an average speed of about 22 to 24 kilometers an hour in the city, and about say 65 to 70 kilometers an hour on the highway. And there are certain variables based on the type of vehicle that you're testing. And we go to the extent that the routes that we test them on, the testers, the fuel stations we go to, the time of day that we use for spending, so that we get more or less the similar traffic conditions, which obviously can't be entirely predictable.
And finally, not all tests go as planned, of course, and if we think that there's too much of a discrepancy in the test, if for whatever reason some cars returning 40 kilometers per liter, it gets tested again, because we think providing accurate data is one of our core responsibilities. We absolutely cannot compromise on that.
And on this aspect, fuel efficiency runs are one aspect that makes a lot of fuel station attendants hate us, because we have to get the most accurate possible reading. And then once we're done with the efficiency testing, we move on to measurements.
Now, this little thing comes out. And
what we do is that you'll often see people comparing the exterior dimensions of vehicles and saying that this thing will be more spacious because it has a larger wheelbase, or it will be better in terms of headroom because it's a taller vehicle.
That's not necessary. Now, the parameters we measure is quite...
It's quite in-depth. So we go to front and rear knee room, front and rear headroom, the amount of legroom on offer, the seat base width, the seat base length,
the cabin widths,
so
the floor hump height, and all of that.
So it's just to ensure that we have empirical data to back up anything that we are experiencing.
So if we're saying car 1 is more spacious than car 2, we have the data to prove it. It's not based on what we feel. And when you have accurate data, that is how you accurately review a car, right? So once we're done testing and measuring the cars, the car usually comes back to office, and that is where most of the team jumps in, gets their hands on it. And always remember, when you see a review on Zigwheels, it might be one host, but what he's saying might not necessarily be his and his opinion alone,
Exactly.
right? It's not an absolute last word.
Precisely, because our testers specifically spend a lot of time with the cars, but they won't be the people you're necessarily seeing on screen. So we have the team of testers and the reviewers who come together. They drive the car, they do the sit and see test where we say which car is probably better at seating 3 at the rear. It's all about just comparing notes, comparing experiences until we can reach a consensus.
And when we do comparisons, we make sure that we are extra careful, right? So if we're doing fuel runs, we try and do it back to back, or not back to back, we try and do it together so that there's absolutely no discrepancy involved. The measurements are done back to back, the sit and check tests are done back to back, so that we are extremely confident of what we are saying. And if you're wondering how many kilometers a car or a bike clocks when they leave it with Zigwheels, so
it's not a uniform number across the board, but the bare minimum you're going to see is anywhere from 5 to 550 kilometers at the least.
Right, and there's no upper limit, but we do like driving our cars. For example, the Mustang review that came up, that Tushar put up, it's a lovely video, by the way, link again in the description or in the I button, that you can check. We did that after driving it
for about 2,000
kilometers. Only for testing purposes. Only for testing purposes. Professional testing purposes. We drove it for 2,000 kilometers.
Of course, now after we are done with the entire data collection and analysis bit of it, you obviously come down to the shooting bit.
Right.
Now, we can't go into that right now. It's a very detailed process in itself. But yes, there's location scouting. We find the place. We start looking for the ideal time to do it.
Right. And again, all of this is based on the type of vehicle at hand. For example, when you saw the Versys video, Karthik take it off-road, because just doing a road review did not make all that sense. When you saw PD and Karthik do N-Talk versus Grazia, most of the shots were inside the city, because that is where they'll be used. You know, you won't see long tracking shots on the highway because it's easier to do.
Exactly. And the entire shooting process, from the time that a car comes with us or a motorcycle comes to us, it takes about 3 to 4 days to complete the entire testing and shoot process, which is why, much to the ire of many manufacturers, we're like, we have to hold around. It's not for just meddling about. We genuinely need it because it's such an extensive process. And if it's for a comparison, it takes even more days, because the procedure is that much more detailed. And
in case you're wondering if it's a hectic job, it is a hectic job. For example, I think a couple of days ago I slept at 2:30, woke up at 5, came to Pune, shot again, and then went back to sleep at 3 a.m. only to wake up at 6 a.m. the next day. So is it hectic? Yes, it is very hectic. Is it fun? You bet it is.
Exactly. And when you see any of these videos going up, we just like to bring across the point that there is an insane and colossal amount of teamwork that goes into it. A lot of people doing specialized job, whether it's our photographer, our videographer, our tester, our reviewer. So the person you see on the video, it's the face, not necessarily the prettiest one, but it is the face that's on the screen.
Then finally, there are the video editors who compile all of that and
stitch it together. Like it's just a difficult task to make our vision come true on the actual screen, and that is why it is a very demanding job. And we get a lot of people asking us that they want to be automotive journalists. It's obviously a career that's very tempting, and it's not that we doubt their passion or capabilities, but you have to understand that this is a very intricate process. It's a very punishing job at times, very challenging, and if you're passionate or driven, it's great, but you have to understand that what you see on screen is not painting the entire picture, not even half of it.
Right, there's a lot of grunt work that goes behind the scenes, and the stars in all the videos you see, I think at the end of the day, they're just the cars and the bikes, because it's for you, the enthusiast. We can take the back seat. We're completely happy doing that. So I think that's a good note to end this Zig Talk.
If you have any requests for videos you'd like to see us discuss, go ahead and drop them into the comment section and let us know what they are. We hope you have already subscribed to the Zigwheels YouTube channel, and if you like this video, you found it to be something that's giving you some insight, don't forget to give us a thumbs up.
Right, and when you're subscribing, please hit that bell icon so you get notified when we put content out, right? Thank you so much for watching. See you later.
Bye.